talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shanna Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology coach, and personalized learning coordinator for my district.
And I'm your husband. Also producer. I'm Fuzz. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So good to see you. This week has been so busy.
Crazy.
And here we are together in our basement once again.
Yes. It has been a crazy week. We talked a little bit last episode that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because this week was parent-teacher conferences, which we did virtually.
You spoke at a conference.
I did. I spoke at Spring into Success for CISA 6, which was fantastic.
Here in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. In Wisconsin.
Purdy. I sound like a youper.
Yep. And it was cool because with a virtual conference, it was kind of cool this year because there were speakers from all over the country, which was pretty sweet. So it was fun. I was like there was like a couple of us from Wisconsin, but there was like I sound like a pirate. Our keynotes, our keynote in the beginning, he was from New York, and then we had our fun little keynote at the end.
Charlie Barron's Manitowoc Minute, if you're familiar.
Yeah, so
Pretty hilarious.
It was a fun conference, and it was just kind of cool because they talked about like there's 5,200 people at this conference, and it was just neat because usually we do Spring into Success and it's local. Yeah. And so it was pretty cool that it was from people from all over. So that was
that's very cool.
Yeah, and then we had parent-teacher conferences, and then got another workshop running, and
just all sorts of stuff this week. And then for me, it was the stuff that you as part of the routine that you normally do that I had to pick up a couple things, and which pales in comparison to what you're doing, but it was also a busy week at work. So it is nice to be home and here. Yeah,
and catching up on things and hanging out as the family. Little Uno happening today.
Yeah.
And,
speaking of catching up on things, we had talked about the Great Suspender tool on Chrome that we like so much that
last time you reminded us, I think that had
it had been it was not good. You should not use it if you have it.
Yes.
I don't think Chrome will let you use it anymore. But there is a tool called the Magnificent Suspender, and that one works great.
Yep.
So,
and you've substituted that one out, right?
Yeah, and I've tried it this past couple weeks since we spoke last, and it is exactly like the Great Suspender used to be when it was good. So
sweet. Also, fun little update for a website that we talk about often is Trello. Just got a bunch of upgrades.
They
even have a new logo. So.
They have an updated logo. They've got a new set of calendar views. They've got a timeline view. You can share things across cards. I don't know how many of the tools. The stuff that we use at work is the premier version. So from the free version. The free
version, there's been some upgrades too, because I stick with the free version, and there's still upgrades. So if you're a Trello user or haven't used it before, you can go back to episode forever and a day ago.
Trello episode. Go to the EdTech Directory. Just start typing in Trello, and it will show you.
Yes. So those are all our up-to-dates. Now, our actual week. So our focus of the podcast today, we're talking about gamification, which I've given lots of free tools, I feel like, that can support gamification in the classroom.
Yep.
But I've never talked about, like, this tool is great for gamification. And so I'm throwing a few more not gaming tools, but tools to gamify your classroom. And I'll give you a little bit about each of them. Plus, if you go back in the episodes, I have talked about Kahoot and quizzes and Quizlet and Quizlet Live, and there's a few others I've talked about that of course it's like stuck in my brain right now. I can't think of it. But so there's quite a few that I've talked about before, but I'm going to share a newer one with all of y'all. It is called Blooket. And Blooket. Yeah, if I could say it right. Blooket. Blooket is kind of like a cross between Kahoot and quizzes, but what's cool is it turns everything into a game.
Okay.
And then even some of the games reminded me of like a little Pokemon going on. So let me talk about it. So it's Blooket blooket.com, blooket.com, and you sign up. It's free, and you go to create. And so right from the homepage, you can put a little image in there if you want to, your title, your description, like that all drops in. Now, what's cool is you can set your settings to public or private, and they do have a ton of them out there, which reminds me of Kahoot, where you can like do movie trivia, or you can do, games like that. And a lot of that is, like their fun activity ones. Or you can make it obviously private and do like specific content things. But what's also nice is you can create like from scratch, or if you already have something in Quizlet, you can import from Quizlet.
Okay.
So I know a lot of us have already have like Quizlets created. Then you can almost gamify your Quizlets. Quizlet has some activities you can do, but there are so many more options with Blooket. So when you go, you can create a set, you can go to your dashboard, and you can discover other people's, like other educators' sets, or you can do your own. And they have from like already created like multiplication facts, animals, and then they have fun things like guess that movie or who's that Disney character. You have your 20 questions, and then when you go to play, what's cool about this is that you can click on it, you can go through, you can check the answers, you can choose to host it in your classroom. So if you go to host, you're able to load it all in, and then the students in your classroom, you can pick the game that they're going to play. So if you're going to host it, you can do like the Gold Quest game, or Factory, or Racing, or the Tower of Doom, or Crazy Kingdom. So there's a lot of different options that you can play in the games, or students can play it solo. And if they play solo, there's a couple of games that they can pick from, like Cafe, Tower of Doom, Crazy Kingdom, or Factory. And then it loads your questions right in for either your class to play or students individually to play, which is kind of nice. So if you have virtual students or you have face-to-face students, like they're able to play. And you can just load your game in. It'll tell you whatever stage or level you're at, depending on if you've played it before, and just load that game right in. And then what's kind of cool, like the Tower of Terror, the Tower of Doom part, when you're playing, you get these little cards that have animals on them, and it reminds me of...
They're called Blooks.
Blooks.
Yep.
It reminds me of Pokemon cards, because they have like strength and charisma and wisdom, and then you have like card battles. So as you answer questions correctly, if you're playing solo, you get to battle against the computer, or if you battle against each other, and then you have these cards that like you earn points and move forward and earn like coins and things like that. So it's
a Blook is a friendly little block that loves to play. Blooks represent players, and there are so many waiting to be unlocked.
Yes.
Sounds fun.
So so it's a way of gamifying your classroom. Also you load into your own content. So like I read through fun things, but you can just join a game, type in the game ID, because as a teacher, you're able to get the ID. And then, if you're going to review content, review vocabulary, you can review like steps in a process, anything that you want to put into there. Or if you have something in Quizlet, you can just drop that right in, and all of a sudden you've created like these games or these interactive quests and whatnot for your students that they can participate in. So it's a really like cool site. It's a way of having some new interactive games. I know like Kahoot we've talked about before, everyone just kind of like levels up and things like this, and there's just a lot more variety with.
Sure.
So if you've not had a chance to check out Blooket, I suggest that you do. There's ways of creating, and then you also can keep stats. So it's kind of cool where you can see like tokens earned, students, if how they're participating, or games and how they've been played, and keep track of all of that. And across the top, you have all of that in your dashboard. So you can play things, you can discover other teachers' creations. You have where you can create the stats. They even have the little marketplace where you can, purchase things for your Blooks. And in your settings, you can do all that kind of stuff too. So I suggest you check out Blooket if you haven't already, especially if you're already kind of a quizzes or a game user in your classroom. Blooket is something to try, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And kind of snazzy.
Speaking of that, if you go to the EdTech Directory and you search for games, you should be able to find all the different gamification type pieces or quiz type things that we've spoken about. Actually, I believe there's a quiz category as well. So if you're looking to explore in there, go and check that out at the EdTech Directory at smartnwi.com.
Yes, that is. Yeah, quizzes, Quizlet, Pull Everywhere, Kahoot, all of those are going to be there. So, yes, check it out.
Check it out.
So the other one I want to talk about today, this one it really is if you're going to like really gamify your classroom, where you are going to track groups with points and they can earn or take away points. I know a lot of teachers kind of do that manually. So they have their own, maybe not a digital version of it, where they have teams and they can earn points for activities or various things that way. Well, one that I've used forever ago and has kind of come back now with all of our students face-to-face and virtual learning, all that kind of stuff, is called Classcraft. I feel like a lot of people have heard of Classcraft. It's been around for a while. It definitely has like upgraded over time. I actually used to use the free version. Then there was a way where if you recommended another teacher and they joined, then you got like the paid version.
Okay.
For a while, and then if you want to keep it, you had to pay for it. So I've done both the free version of Classcraft and the paid version of Classcraft. Because I had a group of kids that were like really to gaming and like Zelda and those types of things. So Classcraft is it's a really well organized setup if you are going to gamify your classroom. And the free version has a lot to offer. And then if you choose to upgrade, that you get like more things that you can add into your like realm. But what's kind of cool about Classcraft, so you sign up, it will connect to your Google Classroom so you can load your students in right away. You also can choose if you're elementary, middle, or high school. So they definitely set it up so it's appropriate for your students and just to be aware of. But what's really nice is you can focus in Classcraft on the skill set you want your Classcraft room to be based around. So if you're looking at, they have new levels or like how you can set it up to fit your classroom now, where when you're going to set up your classroom, you have the choice. Are you going to focus on social distancing? So implementing positive social distancing strategies, reminding students and follow proper cleaning guidelines, like that is one of the choices. So when students are like, yeah, you can award your students for way to be awesome for helping each other out, or like way to keep your masks on all day or something that. Yep. Or you can actually choose social distancing as one of the options. They have remote learning, so fostering skills needed to tackle unique challenges. So for remote learning, they have a choice where you can focus on things for remote learning. And what I really appreciate is the last choice, and how I have my class set up right now is CASEL. But you can help your students develop social and emotional learning skills through settings-based and those guidelines. So I have social emotional guidelines set up so they're rewarded for or awareness is brought to, I should say, for being kind to others, like understanding, having empathy, showing other students that, you know, it's okay to not be okay, I guess. And so my enrichment class I have set up where I meet with my enrichment class 4 mornings a week and for an hour. And that's when I teach robotics and stuff. But my Classcraft is set up so that these students are supported with social, emotional skills to start our day. Because it's rough sometimes starting a day. We're all together, you know, we're all masked up, all those types of things. And Classcraft has that as an option. And what's also nice is when you set up your classroom, they have basic things set up like you had a kind thought for a friend today, or they have those things built in, but you also can edit them. So if they're not appropriate for your classroom, or your kids are like, yeah, that's not something we need to work on, you can change them. You don't have to have them set up, but they do have them where you can make adjustments. You can create your own teams, or students, they can do randomly, or you can have your teams created for you. And then you just drop points in when people and kids are like following. And then as groups get points, they get cool avatar people. And then there's like a Madge, and there's different players, like they each have different roles within their team. And it's kind of a cool way to bring your students in. And when we're in like third quarter here and everyone's kind of like, here we're stuck in because of the snow, it's really cold outside. It's a way to gamify your classroom. It doesn't require a ton of planning because everything's loaded in for you.
Sure.
And in the free version, it's nice. You have your group set, you have your goals set, and then you kind of award points from there. And students can kind of build their avatars and things like that. It's kept kind of light if you're in the free version. If your kids are really, really into it and you want to keep going ahead in the paid version, then you can upload your own lessons and put games in there and things like that. But Classcraft, there's a lot of options for it, and there's a lot of flexibility in the free version, and it's kind of cool because the kids really get into it, and it encourages them to work together, even though it's kind of hard right now to have group work. So I don't know. I think that it's a cool way to set up gamification, especially if you've never tried it or you want to just kind of dabble in gamification in your classroom. This is a way of doing it without having to spend a ton of time getting everything up and running, because a lot of it's preset and then you can make adjustments to it as to what's appropriate for your classroom.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, and the character, I mean, it's pretty.
Like, yeah, they look. Yeah, they're very well done. It looks.
It's
like real video games they'd play on like a PS5 or something. So
yes.
Now what age group would you say that this works best with?
Well, I teach middle school mostly, so I've had a ton of luck with middle school being like game on with this. I know actually some elementary classrooms will use like Class Dojo where they earn belts and things like that.
Sure.
So I think probably the most buy-in I've had is like 5th through 8th grade with Classcraft. I haven't tried it with high schoolers, but it probably depends on your class. If you have some gamers in your class, I bet that they would buy in to Classcraft.
Sure.
Younger students below, I would say below like 4th grade, probably it might be a little much.
Sure. Would you think that Blooket would be better?
You could put like Blooket into any classroom, just like game and practice like that. Because the kindergartner upstairs was playing Blooket earlier today with animals. So that one, because you control your content in it. Yep. And that's kind of fun, earning points and being able to play.
The cartoons and
Classcraft is like housing almost like it's like classroom management in Classcraft versus just content practice.
Gotcha. Yep.
With Blooket.
Sure. The cartoons in Blooket are
like fun
cute,
and cute and like remind me of like Pokemon.
Right. Whereas the cartoons in Classcraft are like real video game like
like avatars like
right
people.
Like you can they design them to look like themselves? That's kind of what it looks like.
It's kind of where it depends. The free version you just add accessories and you can add outfits and things like that. The more money you pay, the fancier avatars can be.
Gotcha. If you do want to pay for it, they actually show in the pricing of how during the pandemic you can use federal funding to purchase it. So
nice.
If you decide you love it and you want to go to your administration and say, hey, buy this, please, there's using the CARES Act and ESSA funding to purchase Classcraft. There's federal funding available. So, which is funny because they've got like a big treasure chest right next to that, which is pretty cute because it looks like a video game. So.
Right. Seeking out some gold.
Yeah.
So if you want to start some gamification in your classroom, I say check out Classcraft, definitely. And if you just want to do some different gaming activities and review and earning points with students that way, Blooket is definitely cool to play. And a different alternative to Kahoot or Quizzes or Quizlet Live or any of those.
We could implement this in the house and like have it for being like getting your chores done. So.
Yeah, you absolutely could do that. You can build your avatar to be super cool and have
incentivize the 5-year-old to get all of her stuff done.
Yes,
love it.
And have empathy towards people.
And have empathy.
I do appreciate that there is SEL in there because like those are skills that we all could use.
Sure. Yeah, our child the other day asked us. We were sitting at the dinner table, and she said, "Mom and Dad, did you guys live in not log cabins?" She said, "Wooden houses in the 1980s." Yep. Did you guys live in wooden houses in the 1980s? Mm-hmm. And we realized right away she meant log cabins.
Yes.
And we were both very offended.
Yes.
So now she's grounded. She hasn't been out of her room since Thursday. No,
No. We all thought it was pretty funny.
It was
and
cute.
then she was
cute.
like, yeah. And she looked at us like, you guys are so old.
Yeah, yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
I remember thinking my parents were old.
The kindergartner pointing out how old.
And they were younger than me when when I was born. So.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, episode 82,
in the books.
Check it out.
In the
and
blooks.
check out in the blooks. Oh. But check out the EdTech Directory, especially for some of those other gaming options, too, if you really want to set up some gamification. There's a lot of options out there.
Yes, and that's at smartnwi.com. Just click on EdTech Directory, and you will be happy you did.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at smartnwi. And if you want to get more information on the links to the technology discussed in this episode, you can visit smartnwi.com. New episodes each week. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast and the Smart NWI website are those of the author, Shanna Martin, and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed in this podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that these tools will work for you as described, but we hope they do. And we'll talk to you next time here on the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast.